All right, it's FYL Sportsman. It's Lamont. We back. Another podcast episode, FanDuel Fantasy Show. And today we're going to be not just creating our own lineups, but we're gonna talk to you guys about our experiences with FanDuel and how we've seen FanDuel change over the last couple of years. I think you now have to be a bit more of a professional to start playing FanDuel. The competitive advantage has swayed, and you have to be a lot more tactical if you expect to actually go into FanDuel with the hopes of winning one of the big cash prizes that they put out there and they say you can win. A lot of people don't know, once you play FanDuel after a while, they don't allow you to enter some of the beginner contests where the playing field might be a bit more even. You're forced to join some of the larger contests with more experienced players, and it's not necessarily that they're more experienced. It's just that they have bigger bankrolls and they can put in a lot more entries than you can. So again, strategy is key, and that's what me and Jayed we're going to be doing today. Welcome Jayed into the show. Jayed, I just want you, before we get started, we're creating our lineups for the day. We know playoff basketball is a little different. All right, you've been doing these lineups with me for the last couple of years. Just from your perspective, with us coming close to hitting some of these big time pots, us on certain days not winning money at all, and even in certain years we kind of broke even. What have you noticed, and how do you think you can actually win money on FanDuel in this day and age as just a regular player without an extremely large bankroll?
Well, first things first, the thing that I noticed that's clearly evident is that it looks like most people are generating a lot of lineups. So if you're just new to it, or you're not someone with a large bankroll who want to enter 50 lineups or close to 250 lineups, I think personally you have to be a person that's very big on people's stats, how players play. You're gonna have to use all your resources and study, really get to it. It's not something you can, you may get lucky one day. I'm always one for looking for some luck, but it's more strategic than a lot of people think now, because you can't just come and put together a lineup and expect to hit big, because the winning lineups are around like 400 points, and it could be a 3-game slate a day. They got the perfect lineup to where that one expected $3,500 player that you would never look at, they got in a lineup and they got it around everybody else who is expected to play well that day. So that's my biggest thing. You just really got to study and do your homework.
I know. I'm looking at all the apps. I even have an app that I use, and it's starting to look like you're competing against algorithms and programs.
Yes.
That really do a much better job of forecasting these players' statistical outputs, rebounds per games, if there's additional opportunities, what is their average output. So some of these algorithms and some of these applications that you use can really enhance your ability to create good lineups. But even over just this past year, I think Jayed's kind of strayed away from actually doing the daily fantasy lineups. He's moved on to the sportsbook side of things. But even, we did it for a complete year last year, and I think that might have been one of our worst years as far as seeing that the competitive advantage of the playing field was extremely unbalanced. What do you think FanDuel should do to get things back on an even playing field? Do they limit the entries? Right? Do they add in systems to detect bots? What do you think they can do?
Yeah, I think, you're already hitting it on the head. I think also offering more, which this is why I don't think they would do it, because it wouldn't be in their favor personally. But I think offering more single entry, big prizes. And that's another thing that I would say, if you're just starting, I would start out with a lot of single entries, because that way, you only have one chance, but everybody in the field has one chance to really hit it on the head. So if you're confident in your ability to just put together a good lineup, I would do single entries, but definitely limiting down the number of entries, because that levels the playing field, because you're not playing with a everyday gambler or everyday fantasy sports player who their bankroll is unlimited, not necessarily unlimited, but they're putting down $1,000 a day, and you're putting down 50.
Yeah.
So it's your chances of winning are already slim to none. And now you're playing a probability game, and then you just have to be. It's not even now coming down to your basketball IQ. It's coming down to who has is big bang take little bang, basically.
All right, so now we understand the dynamics of FanDuel, the changes over time, because there were a year or so in there where we actually were having pretty good days. At least, a good day is breaking even or winning slightly more than what you put in, so you can come back and play the next day. That's what makes it a bit more enjoyable. Now that we understand where FanDuel is at right now, we know we're in the playoff basketball right now. We got our matchup set for the day. I think you got it right there in front of you. But let's start to get to talk about today's matchups based on what we know. We've been able to sit back, analyze this season. We see the trends. We see the players. We know what's going on. We've even watched some playoff basketball already. So matchups and lineups are not going to be much of a big surprise. There are a few injuries here or there, like with the Phoenix Suns. But today, as we pick these lineups, what are you going to be looking for? What type of players are you going to be looking for based on the slated games that we have?
My thing today, especially with it being middle of the, I'm big on the player that should be having a good series, or they need to have a must-win game. Guys like Chris Paul, who the series is tied, and he's a big star that will kind of change the dynamic of it. Also looking at guys like Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson, who should be having good games, who they're due for. Your role players win you one game, and it's usually around this time, like the game 5s and the game 6s or the game 4s, where you see them a role player just take over and have a big game. Like last night we saw Grant Williams have a big game. And also with that, you're looking for guys with the intangibles who does everything on the court, not only just score points, but you're looking for somebody who's going to also, they're just going to be scrappy. They're going to be trying to get boards, and they're just trying to do everything, get steals. They're energy players, in that sense. So definitely looking for that's kind of where my mindset is, because that's where we're at in the playoff series. That's basically where we're at, where it's now a stalemate, and it's going to take that one role player or that one superstar to really push them over the edge. So that's kind of how I'm looking at my lineups today.
All right, so he said something earlier. It's just a FanDuel term that a lot of you guys will learn once you start playing. Short slate. Today is what we call a short slate. 3 games on the night, 6 teams total playing. You're going to have to stack your lineups a little different. Short slates do definitely change your strategy, especially when there's a large slate. I think me and Jayet have had our biggest successes on short slates. As far as coming close to winning it all, that's what I would call a success for us. And in tonight's games, we got the Hawks versus the Heat, Hawks at Heat. So home teams, that does matter as well. Minnesota versus Memphis. Memphis is at home, and then you got New Orleans versus Phoenix. Phoenix is at home. So again, home teams, that does matter. That changes the momentum. Another metric that I think Jayet brought up to me about a year ago that actually mattered more than I thought was over under the total score. That kind of tells you what games to kind of lean more heavily on. If Vegas predicts a game to be a low scoring game, maybe it's a matchup you want to avoid. So that's something we're going to be taking into consideration as we create our lineups tonight. And I'm actually going to be using an app to kind of help assist with the projections. It's an app that I use called LineStar. LineStar is really good. It's a really good app if you are looking to get into fantasy sports, as far as at least the daily fantasy lineups like we do. But I think it's really straightforward. It kind of tells you the players that they project. Now, is it always accurate? No. But is it overwhelmingly accurate most of the time? I believe it is. It really gives good projections on what players are going to do. And when you get down to some of those critical last spots, let's say you're down to your last 4,500, it can kind of help you narrow down the best buy at certain price ranges. And I think that's where most people struggle when you get down to them last few picks. And I think that's where most people make the biggest mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and get over to our fantasy draft board. We're going to be putting together 2 lineups for you guys. One that's going to be more heavily focused on Jayet's picks. The second is going to be more heavily focused on my picks. We actually might do a third lineup that's going to be a bit more balanced, where we both kind of, pick each other's brains to put a lineup together. And then we can come back at a later time just to kind of see how we did with the assistance of the Line Star app. The combination of both of our strategies. Now, we haven't done FanDuel. We've kind of taken a break from FanDuel probably for like 6, maybe 7, 8 months, just because of how it's changed. So now that we've been able to digest this entire season, we can see what we can come up with tonight. We're going to be entering our contest into the $9.99 tournament, $100,000 grand prize. So we're going to be putting up 3 lineups to push for $100,000. Let's head over to the draft board to see how we do. All right, we got our FanDuel fantasy draft selection board up right now. You guys see it right there. We got our players. So first thing we're going to do really quickly is we're going to go through what the Line Star projections are with regards to who the best players for tonight might be and what their projected value. Again, Line Star generally uses analytics and metrics to project what that player's fantasy score is going to be for the night. Now, I would say it's about 70% accurate. I think players are generally a little under or sometimes a little over what the projections are. I'm not going to say it's 100% accurate, but 70% is a lot better than, I guess your own projections without this help. And this app will help you pick players that you generally won't pick. So it'll eliminate the biases. We're going to go through the Line Star best picks of the night. Best picks of the night for Line Star is going to be, one of them is Brandon Ingram, projected value 40.8 on the night, 4.3 times value. So it looks like a Brandon Ingram at 9,600 is going to be a good buy. And on these short slates, you don't be scared to pick the players that are over 9,000. This is the night where you pick the expensive guys. Also, a great FanDuel pick for the night is going to be Jonas Valanciunas for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's projected to go 35.52 FanDuel points for the night at the center's position. A lot of the Line Star FanDuel players are high on him at 7,800 in value. Desmond Bane, a guy that's come on late for the Grizzlies, 34.33 points tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Line Star is really high on Jaren Jackson as well at 31.48 points tonight. Also, Gabriel Vincent, surprising pick. I think Kyle Lowry might be out again, but they got him going at 25.59 points tonight for the Miami Heat against the Hawks. All of the Line Star experts are high on him tonight. So that's a pick that that's one of those picks that, if you talk about me and Jayed, we might never pick Gabriel Vincent had it not been for us seeing this projection. So we got to keep that in mind. Line Star is also high on Cameron Johnson. They're high on Cameron Johnson at 25.08 fantasy points tonight. I believe he goes over that, so we'll have to see. And then also another sleeper pick is Tyus Jones. They have him at 21.2 FanDuel points tonight. All of the experts are high on him. We'll get to our daily matchup. So again, with some of the information we put in, and obviously we don't have time to go through every player, but if Jayed has a question, maybe we can pull it up on Line Star to see if it's a favorable matchup. But Jayed, I'm going to allow you to kind of dominate this one right here. I want you to let me know, just kind of based on the matchups, based on the ebbs and flows of these playoff series, your first pick of the night, man. Who is the player that you feel like is a must play? Matter of fact, let's go with your top 3 must plays in this lineup so we can just kind of build around that.
Top 3 must play in this lineup. It's a toss up right now because Jimmy's out today, so it's a toss up. I mean, Tyler plays really well, and he's a guy that kind of does a little bit of everything on the stat sheet. But he plays really well when Jimmy's out. He steps up when he doesn't need him. Even though he's kind of struggled in this series, I think Jimmy not being there, he's not going to play as hesitant. Also, I might be looking at Bam, but those are 2 guys that I'm kind of nervous about because they haven't been playing well against Atlanta. So,
and I can give you some insight on Bam. So, the Atlanta Hawks have the 6th best defense in the NBA versus centers. They have Bam tonight projected to go at 37.85 FanDuel points at a price point of 7,100. So again, the matchup is not ideal because based on analytics, Atlanta does a pretty good job against centers, but they have him going almost 10 points higher than his average of the last 5 games. So it could be It could be a good pick, but it also could go wrong on you because they do generally play centers pretty good.
Definitely. That's what I've been saying. I think he's been struggling. I mean, he's only had a double-double once this playoffs. So, but those are definitely guys that I'm looking at just because of injury. Another guy, of course, is Brandon Ingram. I think he's in a nice rhythm right now. He's 30.
So who you going with for your top 3 to build around on this lineup?
My top 3 to build around. Let's see. What did Line Star say about Tyler Hero?
Let's go to Tyler Hero, shooting guard. So Tyler Hero, they have this as a kind of a mid-range pick. They got him going at 36.1 points tonight at a value of 5,500. That's actually really good for a player at that price point. Again, the only downside is that Atlanta is 11th in the NBA versus shooting guards. And you have to take into consideration Tyler Hero's last 5 matchups. He's only been averaging 26 FanDuel points per game. So he hasn't had that big breakout game that a lot of people would have hoped for. But then also those last 5 games just kind of detail what Atlanta's been able to do against the Miami Reserve. So Tyler Hero's a pick that could go really good for you or really bad.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier. He's definitely a guy I'm looking at to kind of have that breakout game, especially with him being the way he's played this season. And he hasn't put his impact on the series. You know, Duncan Robinson won them 1 game. Jimmy's really been amazing, and then the fact that he's now out, he's definitely their third, sometimes their second best player.
And you have to think about this is when Tyler Hero has his best games, when Jimmy has been out. So
yeah.
All right, what are your 3 picks? What we gonna go with? What we gonna build around?
All right, so I'm gonna go with Tyler. I'm looking at a center. I'm thinking of going with.
Hold on, so you got Tyler Hero, right?
Yes.
All right, so we got Tyler Hero. Who else we going with?
I'm gonna go with DeAndre Ayton.
He's gonna go with Ayton
because today's a must-win for them. And then in the big game, the fastest paced game is the Grizzlies, the Ja Morant, versus the Cat. But oh man, this is kind of tough. I like Ja's price, but he hasn't. Actually, I'm gonna go with Ja. With him at home, from the looks of it, he scores more. He has a bigger impact at home. I'm gonna go with him at home.
All right, so 3 players that we're building around: Ja Morant, Tyler Hero, and then at the bottom here we got DeAndre Ayton at the center spot. I like the Ja Morant. I love the Tyler Hero pick for the night. Tyler Hero's gonna probably be picked in probably almost 70 to 75% of lineups tonight. So it's expected that he does well. Ayton's gonna need a big night for the Suns to win without D-Book. So I like those picks right here. Now, as you go to fill out your roster, man, some of the things that we talked about that you need to fill out your roster on FanDuel, man, what are you thinking about as far as balancing the money and giving yourself the best opportunity to win? You got $3,600 left to spend, about $6,000 per player.
Well, now I'm looking at a quality value pick, somebody who has potential of having a big game, but and also like stuff in the stat sheet. Like I would Gallinari is a person. I'm not saying I would pick him, but Gallinari, for example, is a person who scores. He might have a 23-point game, but he might only have 1 rebound. So although he might potentially have a good game, I'm not necessarily going to look at him because of his inability to like stuff the stat sheet. And we want a guy who's going to basically do all the intangible, all the little things, you know, the assists, the rebounds, the steals, get deflections, blocks, all of that stuff. So, you know, I'm stuck between a guy like probably even a Herb Jones, especially with the rivalry between him and Chris Paul that we've been seeing brewing. You know, he's playing hard, blocking shots. I'm also looking at a guy like potentially a John Collins. I mean, if you want to say he hasn't played up to his potential in this series, him being valued at 4,800. Look at a guy like Tyus Jones in the sense of probably a blowout, maybe Gabe Vincent. You know, Gabe Vincent, he's definitely a guy that can probably go for 20, 25, you know, depending on the day. But right now, I think I'm going to go with
decision time now.
It is. This is where I'm trying to make my value picks. Even a guy like Dylan Brooks, you know, him at 5,200, I don't think would necessarily be a bad pick, although he doesn't really do a lot of everything, especially when...
I don't know. Line Star saying Dylan Brooks is a bad pick on the night. They got him projected going below his playoff average. His playoff average has been 24.5 FanDuel points per game. They have him projected at going at 22 tonight at 5,200.
Okay.
And they say Minnesota is the 5th best defense in the league versus small forward starters. So that might be one of the reasons why he's struggling so much against Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely something to take into consideration.
Come on, man. We got to fill out this lineup, man. What you got?
I'm going to stack it right now. I think I'm going to decide on that later. I'm going to go with BI.
All right, you're going to beef now. I think BI is one of those players that you can put at small forward or power forward. Where do you want to put him? Small forward or power forward?
I want to put him in his traditional position, the small forward.
You want to put him at the small forward spot. All right. All right, so we got Brandon Ingram at the small forward spot. That brings your money to about 5,300 a player. Okay,
my next pick, this is kind of a pick that what's Line Star saying about Jay Crowder? Because I feel like he's been doing a lot in that sense. Potentially have a good game.
Line Star has Jay Crowder at 20.7 FanDuel points per night. All of the so basically they are not high on him tonight. They say New Orleans is only allowing power forwards about 4 rebounds per game. All of the analytics are negative with regards to this potential matchup for the night, which is, again, one of the reasons why he has been showing signs of struggling against this team. He's scored below the fantasy projections on every game this series.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a sign that he's due for a breakout game, or the trend could continue, and he could continue his struggles against this team.
Last question. What's up with PJ Tucker? For some reason, he plays really well against this Atlanta team. That was something I was looking at the other day. Mm-hmm. Shout out to StatMuse. If you guys use them, they're also a good source of information. So
you got PJ Tucker. Let's get to PJ. All right, PJ Tucker, they got him going at 21.7 FanDuel points tonight at 4,700. His average over the last 5 games is 22.3. So they have him going below his projection tonight, or his last 5 game average.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna load the lineup. I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna go with Jaren Jackson.
Jaren Jackson at power forward, I'm assuming.
At my power forward, and I'm gonna go with John Collins.
And you're going John Collins at the other power forward spot.
Wait, actually no. I'm gonna go with a guy who's below him. in DeAndre Hunter.
I was just looking at that too. I was like, man, he had a really good game last game.
Yeah, I think he has a big game. It's an elimination game.
And I like how they're allowing you to put him at power forward because he is he can defend multiple positions. Generally, in the past, you would have been stuck either putting him at shooting guard or small forward, and you wouldn't have any flexibility. So this allows you to do a few more things with your lineup. You got 3 spots left at about $5,500 a player, which is not bad. But what are you going to do with those 3 spots? You need a point guard, shooting guard, and a small forward, man. What you got?
For my point guard position, Jordan McLaughlin, he got some minutes last game and he really had a productive game, but I think that's too much of a risk for me. Just because I haven't been seeing him get consistent minutes. I think a guy like Gabe Vincent, who's going to get a lot of minutes, definitely going to go with him at 4,700. Yep,
with Lowry and Jimmy Butler are both out. I feel like that's an excellent pick with a guard-centric attack with this team. That'd be a great pick tonight to pair him up with Tyler Hero. Now we got our point guard slot filled. We got shooting guard and small forward, close to about 6,000 per. Man, what you got, man? What pick we going with? This is the money time right here. A lot of people don't understand. Generally, your top 7 picks, 6 to 7, usually hit. It's the last 3 that either make or break your lineup, man. These 3 picks, for people that are watching, these 3 picks are the $100,000 picks. The toughest picks are the last ones. How do you shape out your lineup? Can you hit home runs on these last 3 picks? And he has the money to do so. This lineup has good balance. Ja Morant, Gabe Vincent with the opportunity. Tyler Hero usually shows up big when odds are against him. Brandon Ingram's been destroying Phoenix. They don't have anybody to guard that matchup. Jaren Jackson has been solid defensively if he can stay out of foul trouble. DeAndre Hunter has been stout defensively, getting a lot of minutes, and you got DeAndre Ayton with they need him to score the ball tonight to even win. So he has to be their first or second leading scorer, and he's going to collect rebounds. So DeAndre Ayton is actually a great pick for tonight as well. So this lineup is shaping out really well. How can we close it out? Last 2 picks, Jayet.
How can we close it out? That's a good question. Actually, I think I'm nervous about this one. I think I'm going to go off of Gabe Vincent, and I think there's a guy who can probably give him equal to same value, a little bit lower on the shooting guard position. I'm gonna go with Victor Oladipo at 3,900.
You're going with Victor Oladipo. Now, this is a great pick.
An emotional decision?
No, it's not, because I tell you guys, this is a great pick because you think about when Victor Oladipo had extended run when starters set out. He dropped 40 against the Orlando Magic to end the season. Great pick right here, and a guy who they've been slowly giving him an uptick in his minutes. So at 3,900, I think it's worth the risk. It gives him a lot of money for his last pick. But did you open up that money for a particular reason? Now that you got the shooting guard spot open, that gives you right on the money an Anthony Edwards pick. But is he worth the money? I mean, then you got Desmond Bane. So again, you don't have many options here at 8,000. You can't go too far down because you want to maximize your value.
Well,
what you gonna do with this last pick?
That's what I was gonna do. I think the 3 Heat guys that I'm picking, and also my mindset in this is, okay, so the NBA season has taught me a lot. I'm gonna go not gonna go off on a crazy tangent, but I want people to understand my logic behind this. So the things that I've been accustomed of, like, I thought the Hawks would be good this year, but they've proven to us that they're not really as disciplined. They're not as good. And one thing that we've learned is that regular season is important. It does mean something. It says something. It's shown us all that it's important. So the reason why I've stacked my lineup with a lot of the Miami players is because they've shown that they can play without Jimmy Butler. They've shown that they can play without Kyle Lowry. They've shown that they can still win games without their core nucleus. I'm not saying they're better without them. I'm not saying that they aren't going to need those guys, but they've shown themselves capable of playing. So now I picked those three Heat players because I believe all of them to be productive. They're going to be a very big part. I think Tyler is going to do what he does. I think Victor is going to do what he does, and I think Gabe Vincent's just going to be a good value pick. Anthony Edwards, he seems to love playing in Memphis. He plays really well in Memphis. We saw his first game. And I think with this being a very important game, he shows up in very important games. We saw it against the Clippers. We saw it the first game of the playoffs. He just seems to like when pressure is put on him. So he's definitely a player that I'm going to close out my lineup with, and that'll be my lineup. And that's my reasoning behind it.
It's a solid lineup. Look, it's rare that you ever use your lineup down to the very last dollar. So this is a well-constructed lineup. He maximized every dollar. Ja Morant, Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, Brandon Ingram, Anthony Edwards, Jaren Jackson, DeAndre Hunter, and DeAndre Ayton. Man, great lineup. We're going to go ahead and submit this. We're going to go ahead and get this lineup entered right here. All right, we just had Jair complete his lineup. Man, he used every dollar there. I'm about to construct my lineup. Look, I've been looking at the Lion Star selections. I've been following this year's playoffs. I think I have a pretty good idea of what I want to go with based on tonight's matchups. I like to base mine off the necessity of the win. What players have to show up big? Will these players ultimately show up big? I don't know. But when there's more pressure on the line for these players to show up big, it gives them more incentive to have these big games. And so when I looked at this center spot, I see a lot of things here. I think Jonas Valanciunas has been doing a really good job with that matchup against DeAndre Ayton. But I like Bam Adebayo in this matchup against the Hawks. Look, Kyle Lowry out. Jimmy Butler is out. This man usually can put up super stellar fantasy nights when given the opportunity. They're going to need that man to stay out of foul trouble and be on the court and be elite tonight at home in Miami. I don't see him disappointing. I'm going to start this lineup at the center spot with Bam Adebayo at my center. I saw some interesting things at the power forward spot. I love Jaren Jackson. I love Cam Johnson tonight. And actually, Lion Star loves Cam Johnson as well. So I think, again, when you talk about needing a big performance, Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges really didn't have strong performances last game in New Orleans. They really let them down. While the New Orleans Pelicans defense in the fourth quarter really shut Phoenix down. I can see a guy like Cameron Johnson having a big game tonight. I don't know if I want to go with him yet because, again, I want to start with my top heavy. I want to start top heavy first. And so when we want to go top heavy, I got to look to Karl Anthony Towns. I'm going to look to Karl Anthony Towns at the center spot. They need another big game for him. And Minnesota's really dominated all of these matchups against Memphis outside of the massive game where they blew 2 20-point leads and gave up a game, one of the biggest choke jobs in NBA history. I'm going to go with Karl Anthony Towns, a guy that just does it all for that team. Hopefully he stays out of foul trouble. I don't know what's going on with these refs blowing the whistle so much this playoff.
Yeah.
But so I'm going a little bit more top heavy. That brings me to about $6,000 per player. So I'm going to have to start bringing a little bit more balance to what I'm doing right now. And that balance is going to come with bringing in a guy like Tyler Hero at $5,500. He's projected to go well above his FanDuel fantasy projection or his fantasy average at 31. He's projected to be a little higher than that. I think his usage is going to be pretty solid. I think he outperforms his value. And then when we look to the point guard spot, when we think about players, when you think about who needs to show up big in a big moment, and I believe that's Chris Paul. Chris Paul needs to show up big. He's been looked at throughout his career as a player who's often injured or who just shells up in big moments. They're in Phoenix. They need this game. The odds are against him with Devin Booker being out. I think it's time that Chris Paul has one of those games where he goes for 20, 10, and close to another 10. really dominates his matchup. I'm going to go with Chris Paul there, but that really affects my money and what I could do. So I'm building around these 4-star players tonight: Chris Paul, Tyler Hero, Karl Anthony Towns, and Bam Adebayo. And I think 5,500 to balance my lineup out with other players is perfect for what I'm trying to do. When I look to the point guard position, obviously Gabriel Vincent is going to be perfect right there at 4,700. He's below my 5,500 average, which gives me a little bit more money to work with. I'm going to go over to my shooting guard spot. And, shooting guard spot is interesting because Mikal Bridges has been really tempting to go to. He's been extremely tempting. He always plays well in Phoenix, but he has just not been playing well against this New Orleans team. So this is, again, like I said, this is where the $100,000 decisions are made. Do you go with a guy who's struggling? Do you rely on him to have a breakout night? And I believe we go with Mikal Bridges tonight. I like his size. He only 8 points last game. Between Mikal Bridges and Chris Paul last game, 12 points combined. I think both of those players are going to show up and do what they need to do. When we go, go ahead, Jayet.
Oh, to be honest with you, I think if anybody know this Suns team, it's probably you. You've watched a lot of Suns basketball, so you know some of the players' tendencies and what to expect from players night in and night out. So I think that's just to give you more reiteration on your pick if you need any.
No, I'm like I said, I was kind of on the fence, but again, you have to have a short memory. One of the things that will get you in FanDuel is if you allow a player's most recent game stick with you and you hold that against a player, that can come back to haunt you, because you have to understand that these players are just, like Jayet, me and you both hoop. We know that when you have a bad game, that's on your mind. You're looking to get back on the court and rectify that. And so Mikal Bridges is a competitor. You said what?
You're thinking, bro, why didn't I snatch him? Why didn't I pull up that jumper? It's eating away at you, so you ready to get back on the court.
Gotta get back on the court, man. So this is where it starts to get tricky for me. 5,700 a player. I need some small forwards. I need a power forward as well. But we still got to look value because, we don't have a lot of money flexibility here. DeAndre Hunter, with Bogdanovich questionable, probably not playing. He's going to have an elevated role in a game that they must win. And then without Jimmy Butler out there defending them, I believe that Heat defense isn't going to be the same. I believe a guy like DeAndre Hunter is going to be much more impactful on the offensive side while also getting those steals, blocks, rebounds, and assists to fill out his stat sheets on the night. And at 4,600, it's just hard to pass up on that potential opportunity for him because he's below my average. It's going to give me a little bit more flexibility. I'm going to go back down to the power forward position. We're going to get to this power forward position right here. I think there's a lot of opportunities at this power forward position. When you look at a guy like Jaren Jackson, even Jarrett Vanderbilt, he's been solid. You just have to be cautious with a guy like that because he's coming off the bench and you have to rely on guys getting into foul trouble. Brandon Ingram is always a good go-to pick. I just don't believe I have enough money to get him. I just might, but I don't believe I do. I don't have enough money to touch him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with, again, I hate picking people in opposing matchups, but again, this is like Jayet said, high-paced game, potentially high scoring. I got to go with Jaren Jackson right there. He's going to get a lot of minutes. He does a lot of things to amass fantasy points with blocks, steals on the defensive end, and he can score the ball as well. So hopefully he can get going on that side as well. So that last pick gives me about 6,800, and this is where I might have to move some things around to make the money work. I may or may not, but it's looking like I might have to, just to make the money work for a few things. I don't believe. Do you know if Jaren Jackson can go up to small forward? He's power forward center?
Power forward center.
All right. And Mikal Bridges, I know he can go down to small forward.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Let's knock Mikal Bridges. Let's move him down to small forward.
You're not feeling Herb Jones today, man?
Yeah, but I got so much money left, and Herb Jones is coming off the bench. I mean, if I have starter money to give out, I want to give out the starter money.
I think he's starting.
I just need to get somebody with more usage. I feel like if I'm going 7,000 or higher, I need to find a player with that usage. And so, again, that may, because of my money situation, yours is just a bit more balanced. Because of the money situation, I may have to move some things around. Well, hold on. Let me. I don't like going back on picks. How do you feel about Jaren Jackson tonight? Let's see what Line Star says about him.
Well, I mean,
Line Star's big on him. Line Star's big on the man tonight.
I think he'll have a good game.
So I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna stick with Jaren.
I actually don't think Cat will have a good game. To be honest with you, I think it's Anthony Edwards who's gonna have the big game, but one of them is gonna have a big game. I just think Cat gets in foul
Carl was
trouble.
playing. He played solid in Memphis. I believe he's solid. It's just foul trouble.
But I'm saying, I think, especially with the foul disparity, what we've been seeing every time, if there was a large foul disparity in the first game, then the other team gets that foul disparity the next game. That's what I've been seeing. That's been a consistent trend. Even with the Nets game, you're just seeing that. So I don't know. I'm not gonna hope for Karl Anthony Towns to get in foul trouble or anything like that. But I don't.
Well, moving Karl Anthony Towns will give me more balance to my lineup.
And I think
but it just depends on who I replace him with.
You got a good array of centers that you can land on. You know, guys who can actually.
Because that John Collins pick with Jimmy Butler out the lineup, it just looks so inviting. It really ridiculous. Does. It just looks good. It's just hard to picture him playing so poorly right now for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Also, he's injured. Let's just be honest.
He is dealing with an injury as well.
He's dealing with a couple injuries, and I just don't. I think he's a shell of himself right now. That's why I kind of stayed away from him. But I would have definitely took that at 4,800. Even Clint Capella, you know.
Yeah, Clint Capella is a good player too. So you know what I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go with. I gotta go with, and I hate going with the away team. Something's just telling me I gotta go with Mikal Bridges. I just don't know why. Even though he struggles to get above 30 FanDuel points, he does struggle to get above 30 FanDuel points for whatever reason. That is a big concern right there. I mean, these last few spots, I need to make sure they're home run hitters. So that may be the only reason why I get away from him. Let me see what Bridges is. Where they got Bridges on here? So yeah, Bridges, again, there are some things. They have him at a negative pace differential. So they saying that pace is going to hurt his efficiency tonight. I think I might trust Line Star on that because I'm kind of second guessing that pick.
Cam Johnson.
I do like Cam Johnson, but again, it's still going to put my money in a funny situation. You know what? We're going to go with Anthony Edwards here. And then we got 4,700 for that last pick. And we're going to see what Line Star is for the best value. Because I think my best value, because that Oladipo pick really helped you. Really helped you get your money spread out a little bit better. I would have loved to have gotten Kevin Huerter right here. That would have been a great pick. Man, it gets tough right here. And this is, like I said, this is where things get tough on FanDuel right here. This is where the decisions got to be made. This is where you have to really consider. Do I get off Tyler Hero and go down to Oladipo? Do I go down to Oladipo to have more money to spend at the small forward spot? And is the small forward spot today really even worth it? Unless you're getting Brandon Ingram or Anthony Edwards, there's really no small forwards here that you can truly depend or rely upon.
Right.
I like the flexibility here of being able to move Tyler Hero to small forward and getting another. And I like that concept right there. This is actually what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get off Anthony Edwards. I'm going to move Tyler Hero to the small forward spot. And I'm going to go with another shooting guard.
I like that.
So now it gives me a little bit more money to spend at shooting guard. And I just see more options. I just see more flexibility. I can go with a guy like Mikal Bridges and still bring in another guy. So let's see what we can work with right here. I'm not really big on D'Angelo Russell. I don't know how you feel about him.
I actually was feeling him. I think he's due for a big one. He's definitely one of those players that we know can have a crazy night, especially if given the right amount of time. We saw him against the Clippers in a closeout game, and he's a guy that steps up to the moment as well, just like Anthony Edwards. But you don't know. He's a wild card. He's a joker. You never really know what you're going to get with him.
And I think I'm going to go with your line of strategy. I think I'm going to go with the stacking of the Miami Heat players. They play good when odds are stacked against them. This lineup right here is heavily reliant on line star. So it's heavily relying on my line star projections. Chris Paul, Gabriel Vincent, CJ McCollum, Victor Oladipo, DeAndre Hunter, Tyler Hero, Karl Anthony Towns, Jaren Jackson, and Bam Adebayo. Y'all see it's stacked with star power. And then it's also at the bottom end stacked with high risk, high reward players. And ultimately, that's how you win the money. Our next lineup is going to be more of a combined lineup. Now that we've seen both of our picks, we've talked strategy over. We're going to try to quickly go over a more balanced lineup. Let's go ahead and get to that last lineup right now. All right, we got our last lineup of the day. This lineup is going to be a bit more of a balanced lineup. On a short slate, balance is always good. The more players that you have in your lineup that can get over 30 FanDuel points, the better. So, again, the opportunity is there. The balance is there. The players that you need are there to create the balance. Now it's going to be about hitting on the right combination of guys to make it happen. I'm going to let Jayed start it out with the first pick, man. To create this balanced lineup, man, who you want to start with?
I'm actually going to start with, somebody that's played bad. But I just feel like FanDuel is really disrespecting him. We know he has potential to just go berserk, like bonkers, crazy, whatever word you want to use. I'm going to use Trae Young. Although Miami's played well, Jimmy's out tonight. Kyle Lowry's out. They may not be as defensively sound. They're going to have more offensive players in the game. I think a guy like Trae Young will be a good pick. Tonight, I don't think he struggles as much as he has. With Jimmy
Butler out defensive to really stifle him defensively, a lot more opportunities are gonna be there to continue with the balance. Again, I got to go with Bam Adebayo. Again, when those stars are out, he really shines. We can't forget about him in this lineup. So I'm gonna go with Bam at power forward spot. We may have to move him down the center, depending on if we need additional flexibility somewhere else, because there's so much talent at the power forward spot tonight, but we'll leave him right here at power forward right now. I'm going to let Jayed go with the next pick.
My next pick, I'm going to go with, let's see. It's going to be a little bit, I think he's a little overpriced. Well, no, actually, here's what I'll do. We talked about him before. I talked myself into it. I'm going to go with this D'Angelo Russell pick just because I do feel like he's due for a game.
Do you want him at point guard or shooting guard?
Let's go with him at shooting guard, and he didn't play too well the last game, so I don't think he has a back-to-back 10-point game. Well, he has, but I think he's due for one. I'm talking myself into this pick.
All right, D'Angelo Russell, but again, that's how you create the balance. You just got to put guys in there that, start with a lot of usage. Whether they take advantage of the usage or not, that's on them. But the opportunity is there for them for the taking in a game where they essentially is a must-win type of game.
Right.
We're going to continue on with the balance. When we talk balance, we gotta, again, this guy, to me, is the opportunity's going to be there. He's playing at home. This is where he generally shines. Now, again, it's not going to look as balanced because he's so much cheaper. But I got to go with Tyler Hero, man. I got to go with him tonight. With Kyle Lowry out and Jimmy Butler out, it's just almost a must play for the night, I believe. But it does bring balance to the lineup. Gives us a little bit more money. We're about at 6,300 a player remaining, which is going to give us some good players to slot in. But that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Tyler Hero, and I'm putting him at the small forward spot so we don't take up that last shooting guard slot.
I like that pick. Another good value pick that we haven't spoken about though, down there at 3,500. If anything, you know Miami Heat is team of the unknown, or a 4,000 pick would be like Max Strus or Caleb Martin. You know, Caleb Martin he's very.
And Max Strus is starting as well.
Yeah,
he was starting even when Jimmy Butler was in the lineup. Yeah, he's been playing really well.
Duncan. He's been starting over Duncan Robinson, so he's another person that definitely, you know, even though we may not have him in our lineups, he's definitely somebody that I will be looking for, especially if I'm doing multiple.
Now, who's your next pick? If we keeping the balance though, who's the next pick?
Who's the next pick? I'm gonna have to go with. I mean, Desmond Bane been on a roll. I'm gonna have to go with Desmond Bane.
Now, where do you want to slate him at? Shooting guard or small forward spot? I would say small forward,
because I got D'Lo at the shooting guard spot.
So we're gonna put Desmond Bane at the small forward spot. That actually eats up both of our small forward spots, and I actually like that combination because I think so many people tonight are gonna go with the combination of Brandon Ingram, Anthony Edwards. That if that goes south or those guys don't go ballistic, using these spots right here for Tyler Hero and Desmond Bane, that could come back to be a very, very profitable move. But we'll have to see. The center spot is very interesting today as well because there are a lot of players that you can move from center to power forward. So let me click on this center spot. Let's look at what we got here. Hold on, let me go to the full list. We got, so the true centers, the guys that can't move, those are the guys that I want to look at, the guys that can't move. You got DeAndre Ayton, Valanciunas, Bam Adebayo. I mean, DeAndre Ayton just really thoroughly got outplayed last game by Valanciunas. Valanciunas, 26 and like 15 rebounds. I mean, just had a monster game. DeAndre Ayton playing in Phoenix where he plays great. We know the type of game he can have when he's locked in and him and Chris Paul locked in. So I think with Chris Paul being hand-to-hand more locked in today, that's going to have a direct impact on DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, they correlate each other.
Yes, they definitely correlate each other very well. I got to go with Ayton at the center spot. And remember, this is one of the few centers that you can't move up to power forward. So I want to use them at 8,100. That's going to bring our money down to about 5,500 a player. 3 people left. I think we got enough slots remaining to keep the balance and put in guys with extremely high usage. I'm gonna let Jayed get to the next pick. Well, who you got?
My next pick is a guy that, in order for, you know, just based on this lineup, and we've been kind of picking him all day because he just has really high value. DeAndre Hunter. I'm gonna go with him.
You going Hunter again? I don't know if we have a spot for. We put him at the power forward spot?
Oh yeah, we could put him at the power forward spot. It's just when I look at the value.
Sure, now, do you like DeAndre Hunter over a Jaren Jackson?
I do.
Because if you're going for balance, remember the balance would mean lower risk. DeAndre Hunter is still a more higher risk player.
That's true, but is he high risk? I don't really technically.
If we're going for
his value, and then okay, we're going for balance, but when I look at all the power forwards within that range, there's not much of a separation between them all. Personally, I mean, Jaren Jackson probably has the highest upside, but then again, we've also seen a guy like Brandon Clark outplay him. You know, he might be some of those.
Now, again, just so you're mindful of this, Line Star has him projected at 15.5 FanDuel points tonight.
15.5.
Now, I'll tell you what he's done the last couple of games.
I wish I could bet against Line Star today.
Well, he has.
I will bet over.
So in this series, he's hit 18 FanDuel points. Then he hit 21 game 2. 13 FanDuel points in game 3, 28 FanDuel points in game 4. He hasn't even touched 30 FanDuel points in this series. So, again, when we talk about these picks, when we say balance, that excludes high risk players. DeAndre Hunter in this circumstance would be a higher risk player. And I don't see the need to go to 4,700 because it really doesn't give us that much more flexibility.
Because I'm thinking about a guy like CJ in my lineup. He's a little overpriced for me, but was definitely looking at a guy like CJ, so I was trying to, figure out a way to make it work. But since you're
I don't the line
you're
star
shooting down.
But remember the line
quality.
star. So let me see. I'm gonna tell you exactly what it says. So Miami has been struggling with shooting guards this year. They give up 29.6 points per game, FanDuel points per game to small forward starters. They give up over 5 rebounds a game to small forward starters, and they give up, they're giving up 6 field goals a game to small forward starters. Mm-hmm. His last game against Miami, he put up 28.1 FanDuel points per game, and his skill sets are directly correlated to Trae Young. If Trae Young has a great game, that's the top assist combo on that team. DeAndre Hunter generally has a good game. So, this could be a good pick if you project, because we have Trae Young in this lineup. If you project that Trae Young is going to go ballistic, it does make sense to go with Hunter, because according to the projections, they correlate the best on that team. So it does make sense to go with it. We'll go with the line star, right? Because my line of thinking hasn't been winning me no money, so we'll just go with the line star. The line star says Jayed is right. We'll see who's right at the end of the day, though. Next pick, we got about 6,000 per. We need a point guard and a shooting guard. Let's look at the point guards here. And they allow you to put CJ at point guard, so that's additional flexibility. I'm not high on D'Angelo Russell tonight for whatever reason. I really love Gabriel Vincent, but I don't know if picking him is going to give us that much more money to go get CJ. Maybe it gives us enough money to get Anthony Edwards. I don't think it does either. So really going low, which I don't think Gabriel Vincent's. I think he still has a pretty high ceiling for tonight. But we got Trae Young. We don't have enough, I believe. I don't think we have enough to. We do have enough to get CJ. We can get CJ if we really wanted to. But do we make Jayed make the tough decisions for the last pick? You know what? When I look at these players right here, we already got D'Angelo Russell. I don't trust Pat Beverly. We can go with Gabriel Vincent or we can go with CJ. You know what? I'm going to rock out. I'm going to go with CJ at the point guard spot. This puts you right at 3,500. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Do we find a way to create $400 more to get Oladipo in? A guy that we know can do his thing in these moments? And do we get off Russell? Because that Oladipo at the 3,900 is looking real nice right now.
It is.
Or what I can do is, nah, we can't do that. We can't do that because you can't move Anthony Edwards to point. If we could go with Anthony Edwards at the point for 8,000, that would be perfect. Well, think about who do you want to select. Well, first of all, let's determine who you want to select first, and then we can kind of look through. Do we want to get off anybody?
Well, I want CJ in this lineup. Maybe we come off of D'Angelo Russell.
But who do you want to pick at that last spot, though? Because we might not have to get off anybody. If you pick somebody that's 3,500 that you feel is going to work tonight.
Do we pick Caleb Martin?
Let's see what we got. We got our cheap options are going to be Oladipo, which I think is a great option for tonight. Devontae Graham played great last game, but again, his usage has been extremely low. Duncan Robinson's kind of fell out of the rotation, even though he did have a great game one. Let's see what else we got here. Caleb Martin could potentially be used with Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry out. Let me see what line starts, because if line starts high on him, and his usage could be high.
On who?
Let's see what Caleb Martin has going. So Caleb Martin right here is their low. Line starts extremely low on him tonight. He's projected at 9 FanDuel points today.
Okay, bet. That's all I need to hear.
And that's even with Lowry and Jimmy Butler being out.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go Victor Oladipo.
Okay, so if we go with Victor Oladipo at 3,900.
take D'Lo out.
That means we have to. Well, you know what? Let's see. Because I think about where our most flexibility is, and I think our most flexibility is going to be at the center spot. That's only 300. That's not 400.
Oh, you're talking about if we go down to Valanciunas?
Yeah, if we went down to Valanciunas, but that's $300. If we could go down to Valanciunas, that would have been perfect. That would have almost made this a perfect lineup with regards to balance.
Well, we can rotate Tyler Hero. Well, that doesn't really do much for us.
Because it's small. Unless you like, we only need to create 400. Where can we create 400 without losing much?
Probably at the DeAndre Hunter.
And I was just looking at that as well. I think we can get to 400, but if we lose him, he's 4,600. That means we got to get.
All right, no, never mind.
Gallinari, Jackson Hayes. Yeah, there's not much flexibility with Hunter. Is there flexibility with Desmond Bane?
Dylan Brooks. I'll go down to Dylan Brooks for Desmond Bane.
All right, so Desmond Bane. But then again, if you go all the way down to Dylan Brooks, you're dropping almost $2,000 in salary. That's creating a lot. Decision time right now. It is decision time. Even if we get off D'Lo, we don't really have any options to go down to. That's another issue.
Yeah. Well, then let's go Gabe Vincent and keep D'Lo in. I would have liked to get CJ in there, but
so Gabe Vincent where?
At the point guard, because he can only be a point guard over CJ.
You want to take CJ down? That's a 4,000 difference. All right. Last pick of the day. This is money time pick. I like Desmond Bane at home. Let's talk about who we like. I like Aiden at home. I like Bam. I like Desmond. I like Tyler Hero. I'm fine with D'Angelo Russell. I like CJ. I like Trey. I think between D'Angelo Russell and DeAndre Hunter, we could find a little bit more balance by going down from D'Angelo a little bit and going up on DeAndre Hunter. I think that's where we get our flexibility in a combination of removing those two.
Okay.
Let me see what it looks like. So if we look at our power forward spots, I didn't mean to go to that screen, but let me get out of there. All right, so we look at our power forward spots, man. We got Jaren Jackson at 5,700, which Line Star loves. Still got Cam Johnson. Brandon Clark hasn't been bad. He's actually been solid. Where do you think we can get our balance from? I believe our balance comes from Jaren Jackson.
You've been high on him all day, so.
Well, Line Star's high on him, but it's balanced too. It creates the full balance. And that gives us 5,800 at the shooting guard spot. 5,800 at the shooting guard spot puts us right at Dylan Brooks' range. All right, so we're just going to go with Dylan Brooks at that last spot for shooting guard. Again, Dylan Brooks is a balanced player, more of a riskier player because of the Minnesota defense at that position. But again, in a must-win game, Dylan Brooks is actually due for a breakout game. I think a lot of people are low on him right now, so I think he's not going to be picked in a lot of lineups. I'd say he's picked at around 10 to 12% of lineups, so it actually might be a positive pick. But when we go through this lineup right here, there is a lot of balance. Trae Young, CJ McCollum, Dylan Brooks, Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero, Desmond Bane, Bam, Jaren Jackson at 8. So I really like, from Tyler Hero on down, I'm super confident in those guys. When you look at the top, obviously Trae Young and CJ are almost shoe-ins. It's going to come down to Dylan Brooks and Victor Oladipo in this lineup. And that's what you really wanted to come down to. You wanted to come down to a few players, and it's not far-fetched to say that Dillon Brooks could have a big game. He's had them before. He's done it in big moments. And same with Victor Oladipo. He's primed opportunity to have a big game. At home, they need to win this game. He's one of the few players on this roster with a lot of playoff experience. So there we have it as we finish out this lineup. Let's get this lineup locked in and saved. And then we can take a look. We can take a look at all the lineups just to see how they look side by side. All right, so here are our 3 lineups right here. You know what? I actually like them today. I like the combination. I might just do one more. But at the end of the day, 3 lineups right here. I think they're pretty solidly built with a lot of variety. Obviously, you have to lean on your lock players. I think today, the lock player that we had was Tyler Hero. So basically, you got to have a must play. I feel like you have to have a must play in all your lineups, a guy that you just go with across the board because of the opportunity and because of your own projections. Also, the line star projections are really high on Tyler Hero as well. We have one lineup with Karl Anthony Towns, a guy who can explode. I like the addition of him in there. We got Bam Adebayo in 2 lineups, but again, there is a possibility he gets into foul trouble. So we have a safety lineup right here without him, and this lineup is actually really well balanced. And I think this was Jair's lineup. He went away from the Bam Adebayo pick. So it's good to have that type of flexibility. With Ja Morant, one lineup with Trey, one lineup with CJ. We got 2 lineups with CJ, but we got one without CJ. We know CJ on the road against Phoenix. Maybe this is one of those games where he has a disappearing act. So I like what we put together here. You guys at home, you guys shoot me those emails, shoot me those DMs. Let me know your thoughts on our lineups. We're gonna try to continue to do these FanDuel fantasy videos where we kind of show you guys how we construct our lineups, let you guys know what we pick, and then just let you know the risk versus reward factor. I mean, I think FanDuel is taking the fun out of this by allowing the professional players to create an unfair advantage in a lot of these tournaments.
The bots.
There are bots actually out there that create lineups for these players and just do massive amount of entries. So, and then again, it's those types of activities that take the fun out of it, because these people aren't genuinely competing. They're not sitting down doing what we're doing right here, researching, looking at certain analytics and metrics to create these lineups. I mean, they're just using a program bot to create, over 2,000-3,000 lineups and just throwing them into a tournament, hoping that one of the lineups hits.
Yeah.
I wish there was a better way to combat that. I don't know if that's something FanDuel can fix other than just put out more single entry tournaments. But you never know. Maybe they have to spread the pot a little bit more thin.
Yeah.
To change the incentive. Maybe spread the pot more thin to give the guys at the bottom a better chance of at least recouping some of their money. And especially if they know that these types of activities are going on. You can't just allow these bot players to just collect the pots every day while you just really stealing the money from the small guys. And the small guys are the ones that make FanDuel what it is. So we're going to go ahead and end this episode right here. I think we did a great job of constructing the lineups. You guys don't hesitate to send me your lineups on IG, Twitter. We can also do some head-to-head matchups. I know that on Caesar Sportsbook, I can do head-to-head matchups with some of you guys, or we can do the head-to-head matchups here on FanDuel. So if you guys already have FanDuel and you want to do a head-to-head for maybe $5 or $10, let's just run it up. Let's see if your lineup can beat ours. But just email me, shoot me a message on IG or Twitter. Let me know if that's something you want to do. And we can get that recorded and we can get it put out there one of these days. But like I said, this is Jair, man. Salute to him for pulling up for the show. Hopefully we see him more often, man. We gotta get him. We gotta get him here more often, man, for these shows. Jair, man, what you got as we close the show?
My last takeaway is, if you're new to this or anything, trust your go-to, because usually you're right about your go-to. Like, trust it. I think we've had more days where we've trusted it, and it's worked out than it hasn't worked out, because when you do lock that player in, your lineups are kind of similar, and you hit on that player that day, you're gonna be in the money because you trusted it, as opposed to having random different players and 8 different lineups of random different players. So that's just my biggest thing when you're constructing these lineups. I think that's worked for me. I know it's worked for Lamont, and I'm pretty sure it's worked for a lot of people, which is why you see certain players, oh, this player was picked at an 80% clip. That's because everybody kind of trusted that player will have a big day today.
And that's facts right there. This is all about your gut instinct. I mean, the worst feeling you can have in the world is when you had a player on the tip of your tongue, you second guessed and you changed it, and then that player goes ballistic. You just got to go like with the Jayet move right here with the, with one of the picks as far as pairing DeAndre Hunter with Trae Young. I know we wanted it. I mean, will that move come back to haunt us? I know we got off of Hunter and we went to Jaren Jackson to create a little bit more balance. We went with Dillon Brooks. That was a balanced lineup. But those are some of the things we have to look to. But the sacrifices have to be made in this. You have to be really smart. And like I said, it's time that we start coming up with our own systems to beat out these bot players. Because there is an algorithm. There's a formula to do it. Nobody's really mastered it yet. But I think me and Jay, we've come close a couple of times. Hopefully tonight is one of them nights where we in the money, because all it takes is for you to hit one time. You hit one time on FanDuel and you nice. So I think, what was the pot we almost hit? Was it 25K?
25K, yep.
Yeah, we were in first place. And again, this game came down to DeMar DeRozan making 2 free throws to end the game or missing them. He missed them. The game went into overtime.
And then Andrew Wiggins and them went into overtime. DeMar DeRozan, his game ended because he was going to put it into overtime. So it was just
yeah.
It was a lot of BS that happened.
DeMar DeRozan missed 2 free throws. We needed that game to go into overtime. He missed it. So, yeah, it's a little bit of luck in there too. But just having some type of strategy, having a system in place, that's the goal to always being in the money. So I think the last lineup I'm going to do that off screen. I'm going to probably do a single entry just to see how it goes. Hopefully we can kind of hit on something right there. But again, we want to give you guys an overlay of how we do things here when we just kind of do it for fun. And like I said, I'm curious to see what type of lineups you guys construct as you guys send me what you guys have by email, Instagram, or Twitter. Hey, but it's FYF Sports, man. Again, salute to Jayet for pulling up today. Hopefully we can get him here for more shows, because he actually has a lot of knowledge on the game of the basketball. He has some great sports takes. I mean, some of you guys might have recognized him. He was on Ticket TV a few times here or there. But again, over here, man, where we won't cut him off and block him and do all that weird stuff, we can actually hear what he has to say about these sports. So again, salute to everybody for watching, man. It's been a great podcast episode. We will be back with more sports and news, but until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.